Cool. I asked my list for like topics, and I got this question.
Your list?
My email list.
Email list. Okay, I didn't know if it was, yeah.
And that was a topic. Why is this thing so Can I make this taller still?
We got the new arms coming. We got arms coming.
Where's my bookshelf? Here, I'm just gonna hold this.
Fair enough. They're gonna get mad at you again. Remember the guy that made the review on us? And I didn't listen to it. I didn't watch it. Someone made a 45-minute.
I guess I'll just hunch over.
Someone made a 45-minute review on one of our episodes, I guess, and he was saying some stuff in there. Didn't watch it. Don't care. Hope you're watching it right now and realize we don't care. Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's pretty weird. It's a little odd.
Anyway, so yeah, lifestyle. Welcome back to the Associates. We haven't filmed in a week, 2 weeks.
We posted 9 days ago from filming this. This will be posted about like 1 day from now. So it's almost been 2 weeks, week and a half.
Yeah, Nick got sick. What was I doing?
I don't know.
Moving. I was moving.
Oh yeah, you were.
Yeah.
You did,
Moving. It's so cozy where we live now.
Nice.
I love it so much.
Nice.
Really Moggs Brickle hard. Moggs Brickle really hard.
Well, from where you were living in Brickell.
No, right here, Moggs Brickle hard.
I like this spot right here.
I'm not shitting on your living situation. I'm just saying, like, out. I like walking out into, like, the palm tree oasis versus walking out into, like...
That's okay. I still think...
Empty OnlyFans allotment.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, it's good. I agree. I do like this spot in Brickell, though. It's just very... I don't know. I'd like the higher up and whatnot, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter for this episode.
Anyway,
we can keep talking about that all day.
The point of this was Nick was sick. I was moving. We haven't filmed. We're getting back to it right now. And today we're going to talk about lifestyle. Yeah, this is a question that I get a lot. People are like, how do you balance doing this? How do you balance going out while having fun? How do you balance working out while building a business? Like, it's always like this like question of what should I be doing with my style of life. And yeah, also just like our last podcast, I was super turboed out, just kind of like a little...
Why were you turboed out? What happened?
I don't know. We just were talking about health.
Oh, no. You came from... I think you came from Cava, Kratom, whatever, and you had...
No, that was the week before.
That was the week before?
Yeah.
No, I'm pretty sure it was last episode.
No, because I asked him if you wanted it.
Yeah, it wasn't last episode. Okay. That was the one before.
Cool. What did we film the one before?
Business?
Yeah, we did film business.
I was cracked for business.
That was a good episode.
But last time we were just a little all over the place, and it's a learning experience, guys. This is our 4th podcast episode, so we're getting better at this as we go. But yeah, just want to like dial in a little bit so we have more structure within this, and I think it's better for us to express our ideas that way, and also better for anyone
because
listening.
If we don't have a bit of structure, we will talk about whatever. Like, you can clearly see we just went from talking about moving and like why we didn't film to arguing about living situation.
But I think if anyone's watching this, they like that.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's kind of funny.
Yeah, probably, I would imagine they're watching this because they somewhat enjoy our personalities. But yeah, just want to dial in a little bit more structure. So like for this episode, lifestyle, just want to kind of lay out. What did we say we were going to lay out?
So the first thing is like, let's talk about lifestyle in general and living in a big city versus where we came from. And I mean, we've talked about some of that stuff before, but what's a lifestyle in a big city like this look like for different people? Because you live differently than I live, right? I'm focused on different things than you're focused on.
Yeah.
And balancing things in relationships and with family and health and business, et cetera, with everything, right? Do you balance? Do you not balance? Like, how do you prioritize? I think that's really the main.
So let's talk about like what we do, and then let's talk about like how we think about what we do, which is probably going to be more useful.
Okay.
So like, Nick, tell me about your lifestyle.
Well, I think it changes because when I first came to Miami, I was way more into going out and doing a lot more fun stuff, and I was optimizing for that and just getting everything in. But what I realized is the goals I was trying to achieve started to be negatively affected by that. So I pulled back from that, and right now it's mostly just all business, as well as like I'm working out every day. Like that's a non-negotiable, has to happen to some regard for at least an hour or two. But the rest of the time is business. But when I first came here, it was not all that. I would pick up and just go and do whatever I wanted pretty much all the time. And you know that. That's how we became really, really good friends. But it changed, for sure.
I think that that's one thing that we should, not to cut you off, I want to hear like your day-to-day after this, but I think that that's one thing that is really, really, and I see it, doesn't matter what the context is. We could be talking about business. We could talk about lifestyle. We could talk about health. We could talk about relationship. No matter what you're doing, people miss specificity in context. Like specificity and context are so important. No matter what, like people try to take these pieces from, or they learn new things and they like try to apply things. They try to apply a square peg to a round hole. You need to always keep in mind like the context of why you're doing something if you want to get results from it. That's one of the biggest things I feel like that people miss is they lack the context relevant to their goals. They're like thinking of, like, I'll give you a diet example. It's like like I want to lose weight, and then they'll freak out about like the anti-nutrients in bread, and it's like, dude, it's like yes, it's somewhat related, but you're missing the context of the bigger goal.
We talked about this a lot in the last episode in regards to fitness, because we see it all the time in like the fitness space on the internet. Someone, like we said last episode, someone's going to give advice based on getting stronger, but your goal is to get skinnier at the moment. Two different things, two different inputs. Yeah. So the context is really what matters. And I think you were kind of building on what I was saying of like the context right now is the business is priority. So I'm going to live in a certain way that's much different than fun being the priority.
Yeah. So you're working right now, you're really locked in building the businesses. And I think that's another really interesting thing is that priority is a singular word. And I think people really fuck that up. It's like, oh, well, these are my priorities. Like you can't, by the nature of priority, you can't have multiple of them. There has to be a hierarchy. There has to be one.
Absolutely. I posted a video on Instagram the other day, and there's a clip from one of my YouTube videos. And it was me just talking about balance, and balance really doesn't exist if you want to go really, really big in business. For certain periods of time. At a certain point, it can exist. But for those times you want to go really, really big, to me, like, honestly, if I wanted to just chill, I could make 20 to 40K a month, just myself, no employees, maybe a couple thousand in expenses, and I would be fine. I could balance and I'd work a couple hours a day. But I don't really want that. To me, that's settling for something less than I'm capable of. And for me to get what I want, I have to prioritize the thing, which is the business at this point.
So what's your day-to-day look like? Like, give me a day in the life.
Well, today looked a little bit different, and it's starting to look a little bit different, especially as like more meetings will come up, or like at night we'll do like ad sessions now where we create ads or stuff like that. Daniel, our chief of operations, is getting here soon, so probably in the evenings we're going to just be sitting down, me, him, and my business partner Gabe, just going crazy on certain different things like ads, etc. So it might change up as things happen, but I've been going to the gym at like 7 p.m. Today I went to the gym at like 11 a.m. I woke up, did like 3 calls, did a little bit of work, did some meetings, whatever, like random stuff, check some ads, check some performance metrics, go to the gym, come back, take another call, and then I worked for 3 hours, and now we're on this podcast. And then after this, probably going to sit and do a little bit of a meeting, go over some stuff. Then we're going to go meet with a client, a potential client, a prospect, and try to sign them as a client, and then do some more work, write some ads, and then go to bed. So in reality, like I'm not prioritizing anything except for the business at the moment. As long as I'm staying healthy, I'm eating my meals, 5 meals a day, like staying healthy, getting my meals in, and going to the gym and lifting. The rest of the time is just business right now.
Cool. 5 meals a day, beef, sweet potatoes, asparagus.
Smoothie, oatmeal, eggs.
Eggs? You've been eating eggs again?
Yeah, I have been eating eggs again.
Wow, I'm really proud.
Yeah. That's good. I like
Cool.
eggs. I used to eat 8 eggs a day, but they're really low quality. We'll talk about that later.
We already talked about that.
We already
too,
did
I
talk
think.
about it.
Cool. So, I mean, yeah, like my day-to-day has been a little bit different. Like moving was such a pain in the ass that just like the 2 days before that were just a shit show.
Question for you before we jump into that. Do you think that having different, like having moments like that where the moving can throw you off from a routine or a schedule you're on for like a long time. Because I feel like I notice that sometimes where I'll have just like when I got sick, right? It definitely threw me off from work for a couple extra days after I was sick.
There's 100%.
And I feel like sometimes even people can get thrown off for like a month. Anyway,
there's
that's
100%
a question for you while you explain that.
Residual, like, it's momentum, right?
Yeah.
A lot of life is momentum and cultivating momentum, keeping it. And when you break it, it's a lot harder to get back than it is to maintain it. And so, yeah, there's 100% like when you get in and out of your lifestyle or you change things, there's going to be feedback from that. And I've noticed with myself too, like it's also sometimes useful. Like when I get if I'm doing the same things over and over and over and really like maintaining the consistency, I feel like also there's a lot of times been benefit to breaking that routine. I get a lot better like creative insight. It just allows you to get a more third eye view of everything and just think about your problems a little bit more subconsciously and like just ideas come to you better. Do you feel like that too?
To a degree. I would say to a degree, but I wouldn't say like fully, because oftentimes I feel like I can just like remove everything, like phone, whatever, put everything aside, just grab a piece of paper and a pen and just write out kind of like what I'm thinking and give myself that view regardless. And if I put everything down, I can still tap into the things creatively. So to me, the consistency is more valuable than removing the...
I totally agree that it's more valuable. I'm just saying there's like a silver lining, I guess.
Sure, there is a silver lining.
When you
I would
get
agree.
thrown out of that, or
when you're sick, you stop taking for granted your health. Then you're like, wow, I just wish I just didn't have my nose stuffed up, and I wish I could just, not be coughing all the time and work and get things done, or just do what I want to do.
Why didn't you just decide not to get sick?
Here we go again.
Anyway, so I've been
your day to day, yeah.
I've been out of. It's just been different. I moved, which creates a totally different lifestyle. Our apartment, the last tenant apparently didn't cancel his Wi-Fi, and it's been a monumental struggle to fix that and have that guy cancel his thing because apparently they can't do that. So we haven't had Wi-Fi either. So I've been like,
that's bad.
Yeah, not helpful to building an internet business or multiple internet businesses at all. So my day-to-day, like recently, has been wake up. There's a fire, like coffee shop below us in our building, basically. Just go there, breakfast, work, like 3 hours, take a break, go walk, go to like the kava bar, work more on their Wi-Fi. I've just been working a ton and then playing basketball at night. I've had a lot of weird things. Like I had the little back tweak, so I just kind of like ramped down a little bit. Just been doing like stretching and stuff, not like crazy heavy lifting. More like my more normal day to day. Like I think that for me, like even me when I'm prioritizing business, like I still do more like personal things than you do. Like I will go and I'll give an hour to just walking outside.
Gotcha.
Like that is a part of.
What's your priority right now?
Just building, working.
Gotcha.
But it's also different for me too, though, because we have different styles of businesses. You know what I'm saying? Like your business is a little bit different than mine. Like mine requires me to, especially with the fitness stuff, like requires me to be in that world a little bit more. So like,
yeah, I mean, if I had a fitness business, I'd be in the gym 3 hours a day.
Yeah.
I'd be taking crazy amounts of steroids. I mean, obviously you're not, but that's what I would do.
Fair enough. But I think there's just a lot more, and they're similar in the extent that you are working with like clients, but a lot of my stuff is more like communication based, whereas yours is like communication.
We have a lot of
communication, but it's based on like work.
In the
interim.
For sure.
There's like back and forth things happening.
Additionally, I think it's also my personality to get super, super obsessed with things. and only focus on that thing. You know, business, when I get obsessed with business, that's all I want to focus on. When I started building IG pages, all I wanted to do was build more IG pages and be in my phone looking at the notifications of new followers coming in. That's all I wanted to do. When I was like a kid, all I wanted to do was play with Legos and build with Legos all the time. It's just those examples, like or baseball, dude. When I was playing baseball as a kid, all I cared about was baseball and watching the Mets and seeing things like that. I just get super obsessed with something, and that's all I want to do. I don't want to do anything else. I don't care about anything else.
Yeah,
ever.
I think it's a really interesting point as we're talking about lifestyle, because I think it serves you really well. It's an admirable trait. Like I
appreciate that.
I look at
Thank
it
you.
and it's like, yo, that's like I admire that to an extent. There's times where it's like also, but it's also again just like context. Like I also am going to and want to like make music. I want to go, you know, fight or play basketball or like.
And I want to go fight and play basketball. I just don't want to do it right now.
Which is again fine.
Yeah.
It's the context.
Yeah, exactly.
But so yeah, I mean that's kind of my day to day. A more normalized day to day would be like wake up early, and that's another thing. I've been staying up way too late. Like wake up.
So, question: when do you start your normalized day to day? Like, how does someone watching this? This is a good question for you, right? Because
Yeah.
you say I want it to be normalized. Well, why don't you just make it normal tomorrow, right?
Because
That's
I
my
won't
question.
have Wi-Fi tomorrow.
Okay, gotcha.
That's
But
a huge piece.
But
of it.
this is a question for everyone asking is like, why don't you just start right? Like, if you want your life to look like that, like, why aren't you doing it right now?
You absolutely should. And I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of times where even me, like I will say that and then you don't, but it's always just like people that fucking flounce around. I flounce around. Anybody who's not doing the exact things that they want to do will flounce around with all these ideas of why they can't do things, but you can always just do them now.
And it takes the same amount of energy to do the thing.
Actually less.
Probably less because
Less.
now
You're
you're
gonna
thinking about it.
Yeah, you waste time thinking about it. And so, yeah, I mean, like right now, like I can't just, because I can't just like work in my apartment,
Yeah.
you know, it's just like, it's throwing me off, which is fine. You got to deal with things like that sometimes. But as soon as that's like back, more normalized day to day will be like wake up early, have that time for myself. Like anytime I'm really in the lifestyle that I want to live, which is building and doing all these things. And we'll talk about like balancing all of that in a second. But wake up, have that time to myself, like sunshine on the face instantly. We live on the beach now, so I'm going to be walking there like every day. Just hop in the water, get some sun, walk, you know, write a little bit maybe, just like kind of collect my thoughts. And then jump into like all of my more high lever moving tasks. So just like things that I need to do, stuff that I'm going to be putting out, big projects that move the needle. Like I'm building out or started to build out like a big swipe file for our Launch Socials clients. So like shit like that, like just me, I'm not talking to anybody. And that's kind of how I break my days down. It's like I have that time in the morning. That's just like me time. And then it's like 3-4 hours of like nobody talk to me. I got the Yeet in the headphones. I'm just working. It's quiet, or house, or whatever I'm listening to at any given time. Ben's smiling about Yeet. We've been on the Yeet kick lately. So like wake up, hour to myself, just like wake up into the day, like go into the day with the right mind that I want, like whatever. Work for like 3-4 hours. That's isolated, internal. Yeah, I would also love a refill too. Yeah, that'd be great.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ben. Like 3-4 hours of that kind of deep internal work, and then, you know, 2-3-4 hours of communication, talking to clients.
I tried the communication thing during certain periods, and unless I'm waking up super early, I've noticed it doesn't really work. Because it's inevitable that I'm going to just have a call at 10 a.m., 9 a.m. Maybe not 9 a.m., but like 10, 11 a.m. sometimes. But especially when we're managing like sales, where it's like before the sales day starts.
Well, you're taking on more responsibility, but even then, like, probably, do you think you would get more done if you had that like clear boundaries? It probably, because I also think too, you have so much going on now with all these different projects.
But it's not. It's really the same project. It's really all in one, to be honest. There's different moving parts to each piece. Thank you. But it's really all the same thing. Like they all are interconnected with each other. It's the exact same thing. One grows the other.
Yes, but I do think that. Do you think? I think this is true for me. Do you think it would be true that you would like be more effective if it was more blocked out to where it's like, okay, I'm not talking to people and I'm just doing the tasks I need to do, and then I'm talking to people. Because I feel like there's a transition with like changing your routine. There's a transition in between things.
Sometimes it typically depends on the topic. If it's a really draining topic that I'm talking with someone about, there's a transition period. But if it's something I'm excited about and it's cool and whatever, then there's no issue. So I'd say sometimes that is the case.
Gotcha. But so yeah, that's to get back to, it's like normalized day to day, hour time to myself in the morning. Just like wake up with a clear head without like stress. It's like future based. I'm just like getting into the mind state that I want, like internal, like deep work, so to speak, creative work, getting things done, and then like communication. I'll typically, in between those two, that's when I like to go to the gyms, like that 1 p.m. slot, 1 p.m.-ish. Come back, now I'm communicating all afternoon, because to me that's like less burdensome. I could talk to people 12 hours a day. It's like easy for me to do. It's just communicate, talk, whatever. And then in the afternoon or like evening time, after that kind of stuff is done, basketball, music, when we were training MMA heavily, doing that, and then just like have free time to just, I like having, like you mentioned, the like being obsessed, and I'm that way too. I'm very compulsive, but even when I'm doing that, I like to have time to just like not, because that's a lot of times.
There's definitely moments where I'll just be like, all right, I'm just going to go to bed extra early today, or I'm just going to just chill for an extra hour or two before bed, because the whole rest of this week, the last 4 days, I have not even stopped to think for a second. And those moments I probably just need them less, maybe.
Or I just maybe value them more. I think that's kind of true. Like we're just different people, obviously, and and it's good. Like I admire how executive you are. I like to kind of like sit on some sauce and like let it percolate a little bit.
You're very creative.
Yeah.
Like when you drop a piece of content, it's very thought out, which I think doesn't always have to be the case.
It doesn't. But I'm saying it's not like right or wrong. They're just different approaches. Yep. You need some of my approach. I need some of your approach. And there's like a happy medium that just kind of works.
Because they both work. Like the creative approach works. The executive approach works to content, to everything, right? This is like, even the people that like we work with and are like showing how to do this, they have different things that we're working with and showing them the different options that they have. But the creative side needs a little bit of the execution side, because if you're so creative, I see these people, we work with these people, they're so creative that they just won't drop anything on their social media, because they're not thinking of like, oh, if I just put out 1,000 pieces of like 90% good content, I'll be great. They want the 100% perfectly creative. And on the executive side, it's like, well, put a little bit of sauce into your content sometimes, and like make it kind of cool, like make a joke with your audience, or et cetera. I'm just using social media as an example because it's what we do. But yes,
consumes our days. It's a perfect balance. You give me a kick in the ass when I'm like putting too much time and overthinking into a specific one thing, and then I drop you a little bit of Logue Fitz ghostwriting.
Hey man, like think about this for a second before you put that out. Because I'll just drop tweet. Like if it's just me sitting here and not thinking about it, I will just start just writing and dropping tweets and dropping content, whatever. And it might not be the exact right approach, but it's just gonna get out there. It's gonna percolate and permeate some kind of audience.
We're dropping hella vocab words right now. Permeate. Yeah. Let that shit permeate.
The LGBTs don't know what we're saying, so that's good.
I think they probably have a good vocab.
Dude, oh my god, the tweet today,
and anyway, let's just segue, because
they were just dropping vocab like crit, and it's just like doesn't even make sense. The Evo progressive, what are you saying? Anyway.
So we kind of went through our day-to-days, like what they are, what they normally look like, or whatever. What are your thoughts? I mean, I know your thoughts, but let's talk about, for someone listening, like how can maybe, and I always kind of frame these things, I mean, anyone could gain something from it if it's relevant to them. I always think about like what what I would do if I was 19 or 20, or like I think of that person.
So if
listening.
I'm 19 or 20 again,
And
I'm gonna ask myself, what's my goal right now?
Yeah.
Am I okay? In high school, for example, when I started lifting, dude, I was just like not big enough, and I needed to put on some muscle, and that's still a goal of mine. But like I'm to a point where it's kind of like I'm good enough, I'm solid enough where it's not a main priority. But like if you're trying to get your life together, you have nothing going on, you've been playing video games in your mom's parents' house, whatever, and you're 18 years old, you just graduated high school, and that's all you've been doing. You don't really have anything.
You don't know what you're doing. Where do you start?
You first need to figure out what your priority is. Is your priority to get money? Is your priority to get girls? Is your priority to get jacked? Is your priority to develop friendships? What is the answer? To me, it shouldn't be girls, probably shouldn't be friendships. It should probably be making yourself valuable as a person first, which is like getting in shape, becoming a person that like looks good, dresses nice, like actually like looks good in clothes, whatever.
Have some way to provide for yourself.
Get some money, etc.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. You got to become someone of like some kind of value. So it's either getting fit, getting jacked, or getting money.
Well, I think that I agree with you objectively. Like, what's the best thing you should do if you don't know? You should probably again start to make yourself valuable in some sort of marketplace. That way, because money alleviates a lot of problems.
I think there's two questions here though. Before you keep going, I think there's a question of how should people prioritize their stuff, and then there's like, what do I actually prioritize?
And I think the thing that solves both of those questions is you need to, like, if you're struggling with finding that priority, you should probably just look at like what is the actual constraint on you. Like when I think about lifestyle, or I think about the things that I want to do, like I want to set everything up. Everything that I've done so far, I've learned that realistically you have to just be doing it consistently for a long fucking time, like period, no matter what. You have to have consistency, and you have to have like discipline, and you have to think in longer time frames, right? So I think about all of this stuff from the lens of like, if I'm going to do something, I want it to be just like a consistent, like slow compounding effort towards the goal. And so I think to do that and to really stick with something long term and keep living your life the way that you want to or should long term, you should, if you don't know what that priority is, you should probably look at like, what is the constraint on your quality of life? Because there's a lot of people that maybe like, maybe they have a solid job, right? And that's like, they're good there. They don't, they're happy with what they're doing, and that's fine. Not everybody has to be an entrepreneur
no, of course.
Like there's so many different ways.
Most people shouldn't be entrepreneurs, to be honest. Most people should have a job and have a side hustle, and they're probably fine. They're probably most comfortable with that.
Yeah, I think everybody should seek equity in some
capacity.
capacity.
A side hustle. Have something like on the side from your job.
Or if you're going to work a job, like
seek equity in the job.
Yeah, like
a startup.
Become valuable to your job to the point where
imagine being employee 5 at Facebook.
Yeah.
Somebody is that.
Yeah.
They got a ton of equity.
Anyway, so you have to really to determine your priority. I think that what's going to enable you to do what you want to do over a long period of time and be consistent is loving it. And I also think that you really should, it's like kind of a Gary Vee-ism, but it's really true. Like people that enjoy what they're doing are going to fucking do it way longer. People that enjoy what they're doing are going to do it way longer and going to stick to it, and that's ultimately what's going to yield your results anyway.
And I think if you're getting paid at what you're doing, you're probably going to love it to a certain degree. You know what I mean? If you're doing something and it's not necessarily like 100%, your video games is your thing, and you're not going to get paid doing video games, but doing sales or something, and you're going to enjoy it more if you're good at it.
Yes.
I would throw that in there.
And when I say enjoy what you're doing, that's not necessarily like, because that is a big misconception. It's like, everything's got to be passionate, and it doesn't work like that. I love fitness. There's times when doing fitness or like building that business feels like fucking work.
You think someone loves chopping down trees for a living? Probably not, but he gets paid chopping down trees for a living, so he kind of likes it to a certain degree because he gets paid a lot better than he would at a job.
But I think that it's more so just like you shouldn't hate any aspect of your life. And if that's to me where you start. Like, you have to identify the constraints of what is going to be a problem for me to continue doing for the next 10 years and identify that problem, and that becomes your priority. Does that make sense?
To a degree. I also like to work backwards. It's like, okay, where do I want to be in 10 years? I've only been kind of like on the self-improvement, whatever, because this is all kind of like self-improvement to a degree. Like if you really want to like expand the niche that we're in, the broadest, explanation for it is like self-improvement, like getting better, like how to get money, how to get fit, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like, okay, I've only been trying to like do this or consciously do it for like 4 or 5 years. Where do I want to be in 10 years total? Like where did I at 18 want to be in 10 years from now, 28, 30 years old? Mm-hmm. It's like I want to be driving supercars all the time, have my parents retired, work with my dad on our investments, have our family business, and just complete freedom, right? That's okay. So let me work back from that. Like what steps do I need to take? And I think I'm taking those steps right now. That's what I've been doing. That's what I'm building towards. So that's another way of doing it, in my opinion. And then it's like, okay, what should I do first? What's the stepping stone to do first? Should I get fit first? Should I get money first? Should I do them at the same time? What matters
so
the
that's
most?
Again, I think that goes back to
and
like
it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah, it's the constraint, right? Because I don't know, I feel like at each step in that process, there will always be like the limiter within that. Like you wouldn't be able to make money like you do now if you hadn't gone out and spent like looking back when you first moved here, you probably wouldn't be the same entrepreneur now if you didn't go out and do all that socializing.
I did all the socializing, did everything, and then it was like, dude, I hate spending all this money. And it's not even the money. It's just the way you start to hate the wasting of the time and like, why am I even here? Why are we at the club together on a Monday? That doesn't make any sense. That's really dumb, which we did, by the way, which is stupid.
More than once. But
but then it swings back the other way really hard because you hate all of that for a time. And then maybe it swings back the other way. But once you learn it and once you go through that period, now you know in the future when you want to go do that again, you realize like, okay, I've been here before. I know exactly what this is. Like, don't go too crazy, but have your fun, etc. Like, prioritize what's going to make you happy right now.
Yeah, so let's talk about like then balancing all of that, because you are super obsessive. I am too, but like I'm also going to go out, and I think there's a layer to it as well where it's like, yes, I could spend every waking minute like building my business, but at the same time, like I would hate to, like it's a me.
I still think because I feel like we live in Miami, where it's a going out city, it's a fun city, it's just a lot of extra stuff here, where it's just understood that you go and you party and whatever.
Yeah.
And really, like, let's look at a working professional. What's a working professional doing in a big city? Typically, like New York City, for example. What would I be doing if I was on Wall Street? I'm working every day and going out probably once a month at the end of the month to have like a nice like celebration. That's how that's balanced.
That's true.
You don't think so?
No, I think that those like if you were owned it probably but maybe. I think the people that are especially here, like I think about what are all of these people in these buildings doing all day long, or what does their lifestyle look like? And I think a lot of that is it's like they'll work and then Friday, Saturday.
Depends on what sector you're in. If you're in investment banking, you're working 15 hours a day.
Yeah, and then they go party on the weekends.
Sometimes, I would say to a degree. I think it just depends on like who you are as well.
That's
anyway,
true.
Let me use this as an example. I feel like most people aren't going out like that. I feel like we're in a bubble in Miami. Is what I'm kind of trying to say. And people here will go out 5 nights a week. So we see that end of the spectrum. And then you see the end of the spectrum of people that don't go out at all. I like to balance it. I think once a month is a really good balance of like, you know what? We're going to get all the boys together. We're going to go have a really fun time while the business is the priority. When the business isn't the priority and you're willing to go spend that extra time every week, couple times a week, et cetera, then it can change. But for me, when the business is a priority, I think once a month at the end of the month, at a little bit of a celebration after you guys did good that month, I think that's a really cool way to do it.
Yeah, I also I like to party. You know this maybe better than anyone. I enjoy going out, just having a fucking ripper, having a great time, whatever. Like I enjoy that thoroughly. And I think
It's a good way to blow off steam sometimes.
A lot of other people do too. And so, yeah, I mean, for me, I think it's maybe a little bit more than that. And I think as you get older and just kind of get over it, the need for it becomes less. But I've noticed that if I don't do that for a long time, then it's like, then the pendulum swings back hard. And when it's time to go out, I'm like fucking crazy, which is fun for probably everyone, including me. But it's, I think I need it. I need to go out and just like do something and be active and social, meet new people more frequently, or else I just start losing luster for what I'm doing. Because the whole point of doing all of this is also too so that I can do those things because I enjoy them.
See, I know you say that all the time. I have a different mindset on that. Oh, so I can do those things and so I enjoy them. To me, it's almost like if my priority is business right now, then I'm working for me in 5 years and I'll be able to do whatever I want in 5 years. No, like if I don't want to work at all, I'm never going to have to work in 5 years. So I'm really working towards that, and that's my mindset. So it's like, okay, like I could do it now, but I'm going to be able to do it endlessly in like 4 or 5 years from now if I just stay focused and stay consistent and don't do anything that throws me off this current path.
Yeah, it's a really interesting conversation because I think both ideas are contrastingly true.
They're both objectively like right.
Yeah, it's like the idea that you should enjoy your 20s and like you can't get that time back, so just enjoy it is like completely false. But the idea that you shouldn't,
or that high school was the best time of your life.
that's a total other ballpark. And if you think that, I'm sorry.
You shouldn't be watching this if you think that.
So it's like, yeah, the idea that you should just enjoy your 20s and like enjoy your youth. Like, no, you should be working for your future in your 20s and doing that kind of stuff.
And I'll preface it, and there's context again. Most people don't want to build what I want to build. Like, most people are comfortable with $100K a year. I'm just really not comfortable with it. I feel poor making $100K a year. It's just the truth. That's just that's the context for people listening.
Yeah.
Like, I have to operate in a different way.
100%. I think even like I want to do much more than that and build a much bigger business too. But I think even that, like this is a great example. Like I wouldn't turn down, like I think, like email and me and Jake or whoever, like probably going to go to Europe at some point this summer, whether that's August, I don't know, what the timing looks like. But like I wouldn't not do that. And I think this is I wouldn't not do that because building the business is my priority.
I know you guys want me to go with you.
Yeah, because that's like...
It'd be fun. I wouldn't deny that. But I also think it would throw off my momentum potentially for more than that week.
It definitely probably will. But exactly. It's like, this is the lens that I view these things.
So how much is a week or a month worth to me right now? Then I calculate the numbers and I'm like, that's not worth it right now.
I agree, and I have that overarching goal. I also... This is the lens that I think about it now when I really like sit down and I'm honest with myself and thinking about it. I think like that is the priority and I'm going to do the priority. But if there is an experience that I can have that I will like genuinely cherish and have forever, and if the experience is that, probably going to do it, because there is the converse idea that like you don't get this time back when we're young is true. It's also 100% 100% certifiably true. So, yeah, I don't know. That's that's how I weigh it, is like, is the experience going to be, because that eliminates a lot of the like bullshit club nights or like, oh, we're going to go hang out and like have a beer, like maybe smoke some weed or whatever. It's like you can get rid of a lot of that because that's not I've had so many of those experiences.
Does it align with your goal? Yes or no? Just the question. That's what I ask myself when I'm invited to do something, et cetera, and then I kind of weigh the balance. I do like how you explain Europe. It has me thinking, but like if it's an experience that will just like last forever.
Like no matter what, dude. Even when we're 28, that Europe trip can't happen because we're all probably gonna have like a kid or a wife or. Dude, it's not the same. Going to Europe at 23 with your homies when you're single is not the same as going to Europe when
what if we do it at 25?
You get the point.
I get the point.
And so
you know what I'm saying.
I look at it from the lens of like, are we going to have that experience? And if so, I'm probably going to do it. Because is it probably something I can't get back? And I'd rather have those experiences. You never really regret the things that you do. You regret the things that you don't do. And so I think about it like that. It's interesting. We're different people.
Yeah.
And so balancing it, I think you can use that. Like, is it in line with my goal? Is it an experience that I'm going to get? But I also think one huge thing with balance that gets, like, dude, I want to do all these different things, right? You have to have a singular priority, and there has to be a hierarchy, because at some point they'll conflict, and if you don't have those.
All right, good example. We'll use basketball as an example. You want me to play on the team? I want to play on the team. Recreational basketball team.
Technically, but you wanted to play on the team. I was talking to Ben about it, and you're like, "Oh, you guys are playing basketball."
Okay,
I didn't ask because I figured you would say no because of your goals.
Sure. Fair enough. That's good. Yeah. But anyway, I was going to. You say, yeah, that you should do it, whatever. But then we have dinner Friday, and I'm like, dude, I'm gonna prioritize dinner. We already scheduled it before basketball. That's just the priority. Like, that's just like, again, that's the hierarchical priority is having dinner with people that are in business, having a good conversation, getting knowledge from them over basketball. To me, that's just like, I'm just aligning with my goals, right? And I think that's a good example of how you say that. There has to be a hierarchy of what, and here's a question for you, of what you're doing, hierarchy of what you're doing. But question for you is, what is your hierarchy right now? How do you balance things in that regard?
I mean, it's so funny because you, like, if you're really honest with yourself, it exposes a lot of things, right? I would say right now, what my actual priorities are, it's like, number one, growing my businesses, our business, whatever, like doing that is the priority. And if you look at what I do, I think that shows. I think in my head, I would like to say my health and my fitness are the priority, number one, because also that influences a lot of it. But realistically and objectively, I don't think that's been true.
So I think both can be true, actually, because I would like to prioritize my health and fitness more. I would like to go and train MMA every day. I would like to, but is it part of the priority? Does it fit in a hierarchy? It doesn't. It just doesn't from a time aspect. So to me, I'm going to do the minimum effective of that, because the main priority is building the business.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do the minimum effective of the health and fitness, because that matters and that helps build the business. You need to stay healthy. You can't go for a month or two without lifting.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. So that is what I would say is the gym, going to the gym and getting my meals in so I'm staying healthy is probably the highest priority in the day. But it's not, health and fitness isn't my overarching priority. Businesses, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I don't know, it's weird because I would prioritize me going out and going for a walk for an hour in the sunshine over some of these things, whereas like you would say like, no, I'm gonna go sit down and do this. You know what I'm saying? So that's
but I want to go for a walk in the sunshine.
It's just not as much of a priority.
Correct.
But I also think too, and this is something that is really true, is like a lot of times people ask like about balance or whatever, and it's like a lot of the times, dude, like people just have really they don't have a balance issue. They have a time usage issue, because you can do all of this shit we have 24 hours in a day. Like if you like, I have all these things that I do, right? I want to, go and like make shit with Jake and cook up music, whatever, like fuck around. I want to make all the creative stuff. Obviously I'm going to
We want to go to MMA.
I want to go to MMA. And it's like, also, if you have that problem, like it's probably not, you don't have an issue of like too many things on your plate. Like maybe one needs to be more of a priority, but a lot of times, dude, I feel like me and everyone else is wasting time just doing the mindless bullshit. Like, dude, if you eliminated all social media scroll time,
I was just going to use that as an example.
You would have time for every fucking thing in your day.
If you stopped watching TV and Netflix and stuff, does that really correlate with a lot of your goals? No.
Well, and people will say, oh, well, it's like you need that time to like decompress, but that time
just stimulates your brain.
Yeah, that time decompressing is much better spent actually doing something like doing something.
Doing something cool that you enjoy.
Like create something, you know, that's like way more, and if you want to really have that time, then like read. But people will sit, and I've done it in my past.
It's an excuse.
Yeah, it's an excuse for not using your time.
I think that's one of the best things that I eliminated is the stuff that because I used to use like video games as an excuse of like, oh yeah, I'm like just hanging out playing video games. In reality, I was wasting my time. It was just like dumb because I wanted to play video games.
Yeah.
And I don't play anymore, and I'm just not interested in playing anymore. I physically just am not interested at all. And that's a good thing for my goals. If I was interested, maybe I would play a little bit. But that is one of the best things I think I've done is eliminate all those just extra things that just don't matter. I've done a really, really good job of that. The only thing I would say that I have a problem with is social media scrolling because it's constant notifications when we're building like personal brands and like theme pages and stuff. It's just you put a tweet out, you have 50 notifications within like an hour or two on that one single piece of content, and you're posting dozens and dozens of pieces of content a day. There's inevitably just going to be stuff there that you just get distracted by. Yeah. Oh, this person sent me this person DMs. DMs is a whole other story.
That's an interesting, but I think that's also useful. Like that, I wouldn't consider that like you're creating. So you're creating relationships there. So that's not like wasted time.
Yes. Okay. DMs is different, but like
or
when
like
I'm
replying to people.
Yeah, but when I'm
whatever,
like when I'm, scrolling, I get some notifications, and then I end up on a thread somehow reading some thread about this conspiracy theory or that thing. That doesn't help me at all. So stuff like that can be eliminated for sure. And it's just kind of it's super adjacent to the stuff that makes me money and builds relationships in business. So it's tough sometimes.
Another big one I feel like too is just like talking to girls or like doing that. Like it's
absolutely. And there's something to be said for having a singular girlfriend or wife that you're very, very like
100%.
Like that's like your woman in life. There's something to be said for that and how useful it is when it comes to business, rather than being single and potentially, talking to this girl or going on this date, et cetera, et cetera. It can be a bit distracting for sure.
Yeah, definitely. It's a huge time sink. I feel like has been for me, just like whatever. Anyway. And so, yeah, man, I think you can just like eliminate a lot of that with getting rid of. And I also think one thing, too, that overlays all of it is, like, all of those things that you mentioned, right? Like, for example, I was, like, with the homies, whatever, just, like, started ripping some Xbox, like, maybe a month ago or whatever, just, like, casually, whatever. We'd start playing, and it was fun. It was enjoyable. Was it a time waste? Sure. It was fun, but like after you do it you play for a week, and it's like, just in between you play for an hour a day for a week. It's like, all right, by the end of it. But I've realized that a lot of those things, like you can do that or you can do any of these things. It's never really the activity that's necessarily the problem. I think a lot of times people will use these things that they're doing as a scapegoat for the fact that they're just like, you can't eliminate everything because then you're still left with a void. You have to really have that strong purpose as the lead, because no matter what, there will always, you can eliminate all your bad habits now. And if you don't fill the void will still be there. You'll just find something else to put in its place.
And it goes back to that, like, okay, if I'm 18 again and I don't have any progress in life, I am just starting out, not really too fit, been playing video games for years. That's all I've been focused on. I don't have any money, don't have any girls in my life, don't have any relationships really with friends. What am I going to do? Well, if I eliminate all my bad habits, I'm literally not doing anything. I have to add something. I have to add something positive to my life first. I have to add the good habits in while eliminating the bad habits to actually improve myself.
You'll never eliminate the bad habits unless you have that like positive purpose and mission.
Because you have to do something with your time.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think it's just something to add in there, because like, you can eliminate all these bad habits all you want, but if you don't fill it with something to replace them, like, you're not doing anything anyway. And I feel like there's a huge piece of that in the I guess self-improvement, like you said, world, where it's like, yeah, man, just get rid of this and get rid of that. And it's like, okay.
So how did you do it at the start?
Well, I think that's one thing that I think I maybe spoke on this on one of our first episodes. I eliminated everything, like everything. I didn't do drugs. I didn't drink. And when I say do drugs, it's like caffeine, like alcohol, smoking weed. Like I'm not like fucking doing crystal meth when I say do drugs. It's just like random stuff that people take. And so I cut off all of that. I wasn't on. Actually, I was on social media consuming, I guess, but I needed it then. I needed to like understand what the fuck was going on. You were learning. Yeah, I was learning.
You were seeking information.
Yeah, it was actually useful. But so I eliminated all of that. I didn't, like when I first dropped out, I didn't talk to anyone. I sold my PlayStation. I sold my TV. I got rid of all of it. And I think that it was something that I actually genuinely regret because I made myself think I was doing something positive by eliminating negatives, but I wasn't. And I was like in the grand scheme of things if you zoom out enough.
Well, the question is, did you replace it with something?
Like, yes, but not near as much as I should have.
Got you.
Is the point. And I could have had some of those. I could have had some of those bad things in there if I was doing the things that I knew I should have been doing, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. You know, I didn't have to. It was never about me playing some PlayStation or whatever, or fucking smoking a bowl on a Saturday night. Like, it was never that. It was the fact that I didn't feel good about what I should have been doing, you know? And I think that's a really good thing when you think about balance. Like, and I think it's helpful if you can set ahead of time the standard of what you expect for yourself, because then you can just open that up. And it's like, okay, I did this today. I got done what I told myself I would get done. Now I can go do whatever I want. And it's like, you can have some time in there where it doesn't, like, yes, you need to be focused on your goal, but like, dude.
I agree. And on the flip side of that, sometimes I always ask myself, because I agree 100% with that. I love having fun too. And I do have fun pretty consistently. Like going and talking with people tonight, like we're going to go have the meeting, but it's like a chill meeting, like we're friends, kind of whatever, and we're just chilling, right? Mm-hmm. That to me is fun, right? But on the flip side of what you were saying is, what if I don't do this right now? What happens? Am I still going to be able to reach my goal? Like, what if, like, I have this finite time here to get what I want. Mm-hmm. If I just take a break right now and I take a break consistently every day, does that hurt me? Does that mess with my goal and the momentum and the consistency that I have? That's something to ask myself too. And I ask myself that a lot as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's, and I also think one thing that you can add in to make a lot of this balance stuff easier is find ways to, because like I mentioned, you have a lot of different projects, and you're like, no, like they're kind of all the same project. And I think that's something that's really, really true, is if you can start to like consolidate some of these things, it becomes a lot easier. Mm-hmm. You know,
because you mentally think about them in the same light, where it's not like, because it's almost like folders in your brain. Yeah. Because if this thing is in a completely separate folder than this thing, mm-hmm. then they're going to just be different thought processes. But if you can really, and I think it's about also building things that are intertwined. If you're going to do multiple projects, like there's no, like I wouldn't build a software right now unless it directly correlated with what we're building right now. Yeah. I think most people are like, oh, I have this idea for a software, but it doesn't have anything to do with my marketing agency right now. I'm going to go build it. Those are two separate things I don't think you should do. Mm-hmm. Personally, unless like Elon Musk, right? He's got all these things going on. Most people are not Elon Musk. Yeah. Right? Like you can't, like you don't have the brain power to compartmentalize all those things as someone that doesn't have a ton of experience.
I'll give you an even better example, I think, in the context of lifestyle.
Sure.
Like, for example, let's say your goal is to build your business, right? And you have I don't fucking know. Let's say you have an HVAC business, and your goal is to build your HVAC business, which is dope, by the way. I wish I had like.
On that note, I want to start some offline businesses.
Yeah,
plumbing.
Love the internet.
Dumpster removal. Like, Imagine just going to a small town and buying every dumpster removal company in the town. You have a monopoly on the city.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah. Congratulations, sir. You are now rich. But So I'll use that as an example, right? Like, let's say you have an HVAC business and your whole goal, you're in shape, your whole goal is like, man, I really want to scale the fuck out of this business. But like, you feel like you have a trouble balancing partying, right? Mm-hmm. For example, if you can take that and you can find ways to like leverage these other things that you want to do for what you're doing. Like, if you can go out and you want to go out with like your friends and meet girls, whatever, but you can find a way to like somewhat turn that into an advantageous position for you, then it becomes less of an issue. Like, if, man, like this partying like every week, like, okay, like, dude, go out to the nicer places, and like every time you go out, like, I mean, obviously people do this like fucking idiots. Like, they'll go out and, hey man, let's network, and it's like completely you got to learn how to be savvy too. But like, you go out and you start meeting. I've seen it a lot here. You start meeting. You just make it a point. Like, hey, I'm gonna just like talk to people while I'm out. I'll do my thing with my friends. Maybe I'll talk to a couple fine young ladies, whatever. Have some drinks, get a little loose.
I think that's a big mistake people make is they go out with the purpose of like, I'm gonna get girls. When in reality, if you just go and have fun and like just do your thing, that's how you meet the girls that are worth meeting. Yeah. Not going up to girls and bothering them.
Well, that's a whole we'll
talk about that in the woman podcast. The associates on women.
Oh my god, opinions. That's gonna be ridiculous. But yeah, but you get my point. Like, if you have that HVAC business, but you feel like you're struggling with balancing partying because you love to party as just a social thing for fun, whatever. Like, just start thinking in the lens of like, how can you turn these disadvantages into advantages? Because if you went out every time you went out and you really were just actually like starting up conversations with new people, you probably meet the guy who's building homes, and now like
there's an angle there. However, I would say I still think some people get carried away with the networking. I don't think you need to go and network super, super crazy amounts. To be honest, I think you build a social presence, and that's all the networking you need. And everyone that you would have wanted to meet after you build the thing and go public with the thing and like, this is what I built, they're going to talk to you anyways, even if you ignore them.
100%. I'm just saying that there is
ways.
In the context of lifestyle and balance, if you have these things that maybe at first, like, you're feeling like you're struggling with contrasting them, but you still kind of want to incorporate that into your life, like, just be a little bit more strategic about it. Like, if you fucking love playing video games and
I got a perfect example for this. 100% I agree. So in the context of like networking in general, that would be my opinion. But if that's something you want to do, you want to go party, or for example, play video games, right, and balance it with business, you can find the ways that it's beneficial. For example, my business partner Gabe, he handles all of our content, all of our ad creation, and a lot of the management of the clients, the fulfillment. He met our chief of operations playing competitive Fortnite, and while he worked at FedEx,
yeah,
and he was like a manager at FedEx doing operations at a big facility, and we stole him from FedEx, and now he runs operations for us, and they met on Fortnite. So that's a perfect example of like, if you're
There's always an angle that you
There's
can
always
take.
an angle, but if you first need to be building something, and then when you go do these things, you look for opportunities to continue building what you're building within these things that aren't necessarily correlated 100% with what you're building.
Yeah, 100%, bro. Like, or yeah, you find, if you love to play Call of Duty, but you want to build your business, like, start playing business with the people that do business.
Start playing Call of Duty.
Yeah, start playing Call of Duty with the people that are doing business. Like, there's so many angles you can take. You do have to. That's a really important point. You have to already have that like foundation.
Because a lot of you might watch this. Not a lot of you might watch this, but some people might watch this and be like, okay, that's my excuse to go play Call of Duty. But you're not doing anything that like Call of Duty can benefit. So you need to have something tangible there first.
You already have to be a person of value to some extent.
Correct.
And you have to be doing the priority. But if you're doing the priority, there's probably a way that you can fit it in to align with your goals.
Absolutely.
Like, or if you're going to go party all the time, like, okay, start promoting on the side too. And now if your financial goal is, I want to make $500,000 a year, but you love to party and that's killing your financial gains, dude, start fucking promoting or some shit. And like, there's always like an angle where you can fit these things in. And I don't know.
Agreed. I wouldn't make excuses to fit them in though. I think that there's a fine line there.
Definitely not excuses. Yeah,
So
you have to.
I have a meeting to get to in a little bit.
Okay.
Let's kind of wrap this up.
Yeah,
And we got a couple more minutes left. What do you think, if there's like one big takeaway and when we're talking about lifestyle that you would give, and I'll give mine, and I think that balance isn't the answer. Balance really isn't a thing if you're going to get what you want out of life. You can balance and be happy with a normal income, a normal kind of like life in general, right? But if eventually you can have balance, right, after you go through those periods of like crazy, and we're all kind of smiling here because Ben's sleeping, but
No, I think Noah was laughing at you.
Oh.
It's fine though.
Fair enough. But what?
Nothing. Just
Okay. I forgot where I was.
You were talking about balance and normal incomes, and then he kind of laughed.
Oh.
It has like a funny.
Okay,
It's a good idea, but it just has
a funny connotation,
snarky
whatever.
connotation.
Yeah,
It's just
fair
funny.
enough. But I, like I was saying earlier, if I wanted to make 20 to 40K a month with my business just be me and have balance in life right now, I could have that right now at 23 years old. And for a lot of people, that's a dream life, and I think a lot of people should strive for that, and I think it's really, really good. But I don't want that. I want something much, much bigger, and I'll get my, quote, balance in like 5 or 10 years after I go through my 5 years of like crazy obsession, making sure I have what I want, and getting it right now.
Yeah, I mean, I like similarly agree with that. I would say for me, if you wanted my, 30-second, 60-second thesis on living a lifestyle and balance and all these things that you want, like, number one, you need to find out how, like, again, consistency and long-term timelines are going to give you everything you want. And so you need to figure out how you can do these things. Like, what can you do every day for the rest of time and consistently do that? And then really like make sure that is aligned with the context of your goal and what you want. And then, you mix these things in, again, according to, there's times where maybe it's an experience that you really will value, and that's important
Agreed.
enough.
I can
throw it
100%
in there.
agree on that. The more I think about it, 100% can agree on that.
Yeah, and that's if you do that and you have it's contextual, it works all the time.
And another note on like the obsession kind of thing and going crazy like that, if you're miserable doing it, then you're not obsessed with the right thing, and you should find something else to do, because you shouldn't be miserable. If like you're gonna be obsessed and doing something all the time, like I don't wake up miserable. I wake up happy and ready to, like, excited to do this because it's what I want to do. If I didn't genuinely want to do it,
if you were grinding away and to make $1 million a month and you hated every fucking second
then
of it,
you're miserable. It's not worth it. You're depressed. You're no better than someone.
Well, you're just not going to do it long enough for it to work.
There you go.
Period.
So I would put that note in there. Like, you actually have to be excited about what you're doing. You can't be miserable or the lifestyle that you're living. Like, you need to enjoy it. You don't have to be happy. I don't think happy is the right word.
There's a difference between happiness and enjoyment.
I don't think you have to be happy. To me, when I think happy, I think like smiling, like party, whatever, like how we doing, blah, 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 whatever. Enjoyment. You have to enjoy it. And I think that's the important thing out of the lifestyle. And as long as your lifestyle can change, you can have different seasons. You can have your obsessed with business season. You can have your partying season. You can have your I'm going to be an MMA fighter season, right? But as long as you enjoy all of it and you're getting what you want, I think that is the most important part.
Yeah, and it really, at the end, just to cap it off, like, it comes down to knowing yourself and being honest with yourself. Because...
And when we say ourselves, because I know we've prefaced this before, when we say yourself or like you, and I think we're really just kind of like talking between you and me, rather than giving advice to an audience. I just want to preface that because I know we started off the episode 1 being like, we don't want to give advice, and we're not giving advice. We're kind of almost just like,
I'm speaking out loud about
ourselves,
how I think about these things in a context that someone might be listening to this. Like I if I want to set up my lifestyle, I have to actually understand what I want in that exactly. period of time. So.
Exactly. And the podcast is a really cool way for us to get our ideas kind of just out there and almost give ourselves clarity in a way. Because this episode, I've broken down a lot of what I've been thinking recently. And it's like, oh, I have a little bit more clarity on like what I'm doing.
Now you want to go to Italy. Excellent.
Well, we'll talk about it. If I want to go to if I go to Italy, I'm gonna try and get a passport and residencies, and we're gonna talk about that too. That's a goal of mine. That's something that's on the agenda.
I think as long as it's filmed, then it works.
Well, as long as it's filmed, it is good content for making money. So and growing our brands just in general.
Boom.
Yeah, we'll film a podcast there potentially.
I'm not filming a fucking podcast while I'm in Italy.
Why not? On Lake Como?
No, I'm just gonna enjoy Lake Como.
All right, whatever.
You fucking.
You don't want to do it for an hour? What are you talking about?
If we go for a month, sure, we'll film a podcast. If we go for a week, I'm just gonna go for a week.
Whatever.
You never traveled, you wouldn't get it.
Okay.
All right. Anyway, the associate.
Thanks
you
for
guys love the
listening. Thanks
bickering.
for. You said what?
I said I hope they love the bickering.
Yeah. I hope they love it too. Thanks for watching on YouTube. YouTube is our pretty much our primary spot. You can find us on Apple Podcast and Spotify too, if you're more of the listening type. And then clips probably on IG and Twitter and whatnot. So next episode is going to be fun. I know we have a bunch of topics I'm looking up at the board right now.
Whatever one we pick,
There's-
unless we do long-term vision, it's going to be a fucking
There's
slapper.
There's going to be...
I feel like we've talked enough about long-term
If
vision
it-
too, indirectly.
Yeah, indirectly. I think the lifestyle, the business, the intro episode, the health and fitness really got a good foundation established.
People know
But
who
as
we are,
soon
what
as
we
we
do.
As soon as we do the
It's trying to get
associates,
reckless.
as soon as we do the associates' opinion on women, talking about conspiracies, talking about politics, religion, get high in a podcast and just rant about random stuff. Things are gonna be interesting. Things are gonna be
Fun here at Associates headquarters.
So we'll see you guys in the next episode, which whatever it is gonna be crazy. Drop your opinions and what you guys want to see as well in the comments below.
Love to know what you would like to hear in Associates podcast.
Absolutely,
on.
or what we're doing wrong, because you guys love to criticize us too. So
I'm about it. Iron
no,
sharpens
it's great. It
iron.
makes us much better.
Well, the first time, I was fucking
Yeah, it was
grabbing the mic
all
harder.
over.
Yeah.
Yeah. So drop that in the comments below, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.
Okay.